Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Third Intermission podcast. This is your boy Dave, aka the Boss Man, out here in these streets. Of course, follow us on the socials at Toronto Third, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Find us on Blue Sky. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. That includes Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, and our friends over at Podbean. And if you're seeing us on YouTube, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and hit that bell because we be hitting you with new stuff every week. Of course, we got the Queen of Black Hockey herself, aka the loveliest woman in hockey, and of course the only woman who will be gracious enough to grace us on our podcast, Marsha Joseph, out here in these streets, and of course we got the right hand of the king himself, aka the Fedora Man, aka Mr. Steal Your Girl, Avery McDougal out in Alberta as well. How y'all doing?
We out here. We ready for the road. I had to bring it back.
Of course, FIFA not ready. FIFA not ready yet. FIFA not ready.
We don't know that, Dave. We don't know that.
Listen, them not ready. Them never been.
They've never been ready. They're not going to be ready until like Friday.
Why should I listen to this podcast and come cuss me off in an email later? Say like,
That's okay.
We need you to cease and desist.
They'll be fine. They know they're not ready. They're not ready anywhere. They're not ready in Canada. They're not ready in Mexico. They're not ready in the US. Why are we deporting referees?
What?
Before we get to the hockey of it all, the top, like one of the top African referees, a Somali man, he was like highly anticipated to be a ref in this World Cup, got deported on US soil back to Turkey. Because he's from Somalia, and like Somalia is on one of the banned countries lists for the States.
It's just, it is just embarrassing stuff as to what, again, these policies are racist, and the idea that, a FIFA official is a threat to society is just absurd, nonsense, garbage.
Yeah, and he was on a diplomatic passport. It's not like he was on a regular passport. And the fact that FIFA came in and said, we can't do anything. It's the host country's discretion. Don't lie. What did you do in Qatar?
Right.
Yeah, now FIFA's powerless? Now you can't do anything?
Why are you lying? Why are you lying, FIFA? But I will say it was really cool of the BC Premier to be like, we welcome that man in Vancouver. Let's change some things around, FIFA. Let's get him to officiate some games in Canada, but let's see if FIFA will actually do anything. And there's also been some rich people that have been like, I'm sorry you've gone through this. Really would have loved to see you ref some games, but I'm offering to cover your whole salary that you would have made during this entire World Cup and like put up $100K for the dude. So he's getting a lot of support.
There's still some good people in the United States, but still, millionaire class is always racist. We'll keep it that way. Anyways, great show for you tonight. Of course. Of course, we're gonna talk about the Hurricanes and the Knights playing in the Stanley Cup Final. Bill Pavelski could potentially be the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then we'll see. Mike Babcock going to Edmonton. We're gonna dive into that. Of course, this is going to be more Avery's realm, as we're gonna hear him cuss for the next maybe 15 minutes. Of course, last but not least, the big news coming out of Toronto. The Baby Leafs are in the Calder Cup Final. And we're more than excited, and we're trying to hope we can get tickets if somebody from the Marlies is listening. So, of course, great show for you tonight. As I've said for the third time, I like repeating myself because I don't know why. But anyways, let's dive right in. First things first, biggest thing out of hockey right now, of course, is the Stanley Cup Final, as this series has been nothing but absolute cinema. And I say this with pure, genuine, pure genuine thought, because how are you out here with literally essentially 4 games for the price of 3, especially with the amount of overtime that's been played, and you had 2 teams, you basically had the same team claw back from like a 4-0 deficit twice just to create the magic that is a 2-1 series lead by the Vegas Golden Knights. And I have to say I'm completely astonished because here I am thinking game 3 is a wash because Marner scores a hat trick out of nowhere, and then next thing you know, Svechnikov scores, Aho scores, Jankowski scores, and it's just like, what your ass is this? Like, and then all of a sudden Carolina ties it up while in Vegas, and like coming from like what 4-0 down in the third period, just to basically slap a bunch of motherfuckers. Excuse my language. In the third period alone, what was it? 4 goals in 11 minutes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And 3 of those goals were in 40 seconds.
That's absolutely wild. I've never seen any. No, wait, that's a lie. I've seen crazier. I've seen absolutely crazy. 2013. Let's just leave it at that. But
you're trying to make your audience mad. You're trying to make all the audience turn the show off, Dave. No, cut this podcast off.
Right? No. Listen, okay, it's been 13 years. Get over it. Anyways, I have to say I was completely wrong about this matchup because initially, and for the life of me, I wanted to see Montreal destroy Marner and make him cry. But you know what? Marner's essentially a Conn Smythe Trophy candidate right now. Same with Mark Stone. You also have to put Sebastian Aho in that conversation. You have to put Jankowski in that conversation. Bussy as well. If Bussy can actually pull this out and say, you know, steal game 4, steal game 5, and then, you know, go to, like, say, a very dramatic showdown in game 6 where Carolina may essentially win the Stanley Cup on Vegas ice. Like, I feel like you should put him in that conversation too. But then again, it's not Stanley Cup Finals MVP; it's playoff MVP. So on that note, I'd say you'd probably throw Seth Jarvis into that conversation too.
I think it should go to Seth Jarvis's friends.
Please elaborate on that because, like, I know some of us don't feel, you know, some of us are feeling the type of way about the dude, but
they are the MVPs of life, really, from the Olympics to the playoff. Like, they are the top tier definition of support and strength and uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it gets better than that. What do you mean? I'm going to fly halfway across the world to support you in the Olympics. I mean, I'm going to be at like every playoff series, no matter where you are, and support you. What do you mean I'm going to go in my friend's backyard, get some jean jackets from a store, and paint my own Seth Jarvis WAG jacket? Like, what? I'm comfortable with myself enough that I painted a WAG jacket for my friend.
That's not friendship. That's brotherhood right there.
You know, they win. Sorry. I
don't think you would ever see that much of a bromance in life, except like that. But then again, bromances aren't documented because, you know, people think something sideways about it. But you know what? We say screw those people. Bromance is for the win. Anyways, I have to say right now, like, with all foolishness aside, this has been a very special playoff run. Without any hyperbole. And Avery, I'm probably sure you feel the same way too.
You know, yeah, it has been fun to see from the Carolina side, this team getting over that hump of the Eastern Conference Final, battling back again and again and again to give the Golden Knights a fight in this series. And if Brandon Bussy, if he can come out here and be a guy who can help steal this series from the Golden Knights and help even the series up, that would be a heck of a story. And by the way, we have a connection to Brandon Bussy because his agent is our pal John Osei-Tutu. So we can get him on the show in the offseason.
Well, one can hope, right? But I mean, again, this isn't like the state of New York right now, where it's like basically every win and every loss essentially pulls New York into Gotham City just further and further and further and further. It's like because like here's the thing, like I don't know if you can, and folks, I know this is a hockey show, but just bear with me here. I don't know if you can ever get the same amount of like say aura or pull from Game 3 of the NBA Finals, like back on what Monday night. You won't get that same type of just energy or electricity in a Stanley Cup Final unless it's like absolutely palpable. And the only way you can essentially do that, and again, I really hate to do this, but is if the Leafs actually make the Stanley Cup Final and they're like say they're like they're the underseeded team, because you know how crazy that's going to get if the Leafs ever make the Cup Final in our lifetime.
Oh boy, that is the one thing is that, you know what, I admit I can't put anything when it comes to energy. You're not topping a New York Knicks NBA champ finals appearance. But the
No,
Leafs, but the Leafs, if the Leafs make a Stanley Cup final, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, that would be scenes we've never seen yet in sports.
like here's the thing: we've seen some absolute madness over the course of the year. For example, Arsenal winning the Premier League and going to the Champions League final. And Arsenal has not won a trophy in 22 years, right? That was absolutely crazy in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, it's like the Knicks make the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years, and they actually have a decent shot of winning this year. We all saw how Game 3 went before a certain orange ass clown decided to come and grace us with his presence and fall asleep during the game. But
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot deny the fact that like not even a Raptors crowd would touch that. And I'm being dead ass when I say this. Like there wasn't like if the Raptors made the NBA Finals again, like you would not get the same amount of energy, if not even a quarter of that, right? Because the amount of anticipate, like again, 2019 was beautiful, but like you will never get the same amount of energy that you would from that run compared to Monday night at Madison Square Garden. Like there's something about that like literally has its own black hole of just positive energy, and you cannot find that anywhere else. I don't know if the NHL really has that amount of pull, but like I mean, if the series goes the way that it does, it's like you can literally find a way to pull NBA fans into this and be like, "Yo, damn, this is actually on the same level as like say like a Knicks Spurs final, but in regards to like say technicality and like just actual play and just basically how the game's going, because again you have one team that's basically a villain, and then you have the other team that's basically a baby face right there. This is essentially a main event. This is a WrestleMania main event type of Stanley Cup final, right? Everyone hates Vegas right now. Why? Because a certain Leaf player decided to go run off and basically almost get the team that he's playing for charged with tampering because his dad decided to go help him look for a house in Vegas, allegedly, and then basically like what and I like sorry, initiate a sign and trade just so Vegas wouldn't catch tampering charges, and then of course, and then you have basically the biggest and John Tortorella as their head coach, two bloody weeks before the season even ends, and on the other side you have a bunch of jerks who have been trying to get past the hump for how long, you know, basically essentially losing the Royal Rumble or say I don't know not getting to that, not getting over the hump of like say, actually I'm losing my analogies here, bear with me. It's always being the bridesmaid but never the bride when it comes to the actual like just when it comes to actually winning the Eastern Conference. Now that they're here for the first time in 20 years, they're actually coming out here and they're dummying mans, you know, they're creating nothing but just beautiful hockey, and I'm happy to see it. Carolina's the baby facing the NHL right now. Vegas is the heel. You got a perfect marriage right here.
No lies told. Great
That's
analogy.
that's the first time I've gotten that. Thank you. Like, am I wrong? Am I absolutely wrong? No.
No, but you know what I would say? What would happen? What would happen to Toronto if Mitch Marner won the Conn Smythe? What would happen to that city?
Yo, I live on the 18th floor of my building in Kitchener. Okay, you'll probably hear my name in the news if Mitch Marner won the Conn Smythe, man.
All right, man.
I would just be saying that I was aiming for the pool and I missed completely, and now my legs are broken because of it.
Oh dear.
Listen, okay. In all seriousness, folks, please don't call mental health services. I'm okay, I promise. But real talk, I'm still, again, you might call me a hater for this. I don't care, but I'm still not sold on a Marner redemption tour for a number of reasons. One, where was this style of play when he was a Leaf? You know, he had the ability to do this with Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares, and a whole host of other players. He had a chance to do this with Nazem Kadri, but we shipped him off before we could do anything. Right? And of course, homeboy was getting himself suspended. Now look at what happened. He's had a Stanley Cup. He's been on numerous playoff teams, and yet he still has a job in the league. Yet say, I don't know, John Michael Lyles is like basically on a beach somewhere. But there's a John Michael Lyles? I don't know. Anyways, on top of that, it's like you had decent players. You had a Nick Foligno. You had Frederick Anderson. You had Jack Campbell. You had so many great players literally within the Leaf system, and you basically flush it down the goddamn toilet because 4 guys decided to say, oh, well, we want 40% of the salary cap, and now look what's happening. You know, one of them decides to basically piss off to Vegas, and yet he's playing like as if he's playing in London right now. That's absolutely insane to me. And it feels like it's just cowardice to me. Like, I don't know what else this team can do. I don't know if the Leafs are ever going to do anything at this point. Because it's like, what? We have 1 year left before the team's last Stanley Cup championship is off the cup. And the only way you can see it is at the Hockey Hall of Fame or on Wikipedia. Like, we have no highlights of like, you know, we have no mixtapes of the Leafs making the Cup final in color, in 4K. Montreal has one in 4K. New York has one in high definition. Boston's already won one.
In the box.
Do you guys remember the Abraham Simpson sitting under the lemon tree talking to the kids?
Here we go again.
That's what it's going to end up looking like if the Leafs don't win soon. Once upon a time, back in my day, there was a thing called Stanley Cup that we used to win. We got cursed, and it never happened again.
I want a Stanley Cup patch on my Leafs jersey. I'm not even joking, man. Like, yo, this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. Like, yo, what is this?
I want to have the Oreos and the milk out of the Stanley Cup.
Yo, for real. Like, yo, a bowl of Oreo O's in the Stanley Cup is fire. You know, just throw a little vodka in there, and like, yo, you could call it a cookies and cream Russian, but still.
What, brother?
What, you never heard of a white Russian before? Like, yo, throw some Oreos in there. It's a cookies and cream Russian still. But
anyway, before it gets too out of hand, that voice you heard is Troy. Troy pops into the podcast.
I saw Avery immediately shake his head as soon as I unmuted.
Real talk though, Troy, how you doing?
Good. We're just closing up shop here. We're just trying to kill out the next 9 minutes before we can clock out without getting in trouble.
Real talk, how are you enjoying the Stanley Cup Finals right now?
Bro, I am more, as a hockey fan, I gotta say I'm probably more in tune with what's happening in the NBA Finals. Mostly because, I mean, like, it's not that, like, both teams aren't watchable. Mm-hmm. It's just that one of those teams is Vegas.
Real as hell. Yeah.
Had it been Carolina and literally anybody else, I'm all in. But because it's Vegas, I don't entirely care.
It's so hard.
I mean, like, I've seen highlights and stuff, and I know that the Vegas, they're as old as they are exploiting Carolina defense. They're catching them on bad changes. The transition game is not where it should be under Rod Brindamore. I was saying to Avry on Sunday night that there's some things lost in translation from when Rod speaks to when it gets to their ears and filters through their brains, because there's no way a guy like Rod Brindamore has lost the room in the most important series of the year. Something's just not clicking with the players. And we saw that the other night when Vegas gave up that 4-goal lead, where suddenly Carolina woke up and was paying attention to what's going on, but they were still getting burned on transition plays and bad changes and bad reads. Hopefully tonight the message that Carolina got is board play, because that's where they've been struggling a lot in this series, is board play. The wingers are not where they need to be. They're not where they're supposed to be. And this is what's leading to Vegas scoring a ton of goals. Also, they're not entirely helping Freddie out. They're not really clearing bodies. They're not letting him see it. And one of the main goals to a successful championship is strong goaltending. We haven't seen it from Freddie, mostly because, again, Vegas has been able to exploit Carolina weaknesses. It is unfortunate that Anderson got run over and is not starting the game tonight. I don't know if he would have started anyway, but it forces Carolina's hand now to send a message to the room where we're changing the goalie. If you can't play for Freddie, play for the bus. Do something. Save your season.
Couldn't agree more with that. And honestly, you know what? Like, if Brandon, as Avry was stating earlier, if Brandon Bussey can actually pull this off, it would be a very great story for Carolina to find a little redemption, considering the fact that Frederick Anderson is essentially hurt in this situation. And, it'd be nice to see Carolina's goaltending depth going into, say, games 4, 5, and 4, 5, 6. Maybe potentially a 7, because if say things work out the way they do, and Carolina and Vegas go to a 7th game, it's nothing short of magical. And obviously we have not seen an overtime game 7 overtime winner in the Stanley Cup Final since 1952, when Detroit was the last team to do it against the New York Rangers. It'd be nice to actually see that in, in 4K, 1440p high definition. It'd be nice to actually see that. But again, I make no predictions. I mean, I tried to do that by myself because none of y'all were here a couple weeks ago, but it was what it was. So, anyways, we move on. In other hockey news, we have some coaching hirings that we want to actually just go through real quick. Peter Laviolette actually has been hired by the Los Angeles Kings as their next head coach. Marsha, yay or nay? Good signing.
Not terrible.
What do you mean by that? Uh-oh. I think we lost Marsha on that
No,
one.
I'm here.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. I didn't feel like he was gonna be here. That wasn't my vibe. So I don't feel like it's a big loss for us. It's what I mean by that.
Do you feel he's the right coach for, say, Quinton Byfield and the rest of the Los Angeles Kings going into next season?
Something different for them. But is Quinton Byfield gonna wake up?
That's the other factor at play here.
I mean, not just him, but the Kings as a whole. I feel like they need someone to do a little bit of shocking. And I mean, like, a Lavalette is not really like, he's not really old guard, not really new guard. He's like one of those guys that's like a weird in between, I find. Um, in the sense that he's adaptable in his coaching style from what I've seen more recently. Um, so I feel like that will help with the younger guys on LA in terms of keeping them engaged. So I'm very interested in seeing how he's going to use that to his advantage to keep them wanting more and keeping them like in wanting to do the work to become a better team and build and like wanting to grow together. But he definitely has his work cut out for him, to say the least.
We'll see how that plays out. Avery, I know you've been a little bit hot-headed about the whole Mike Babcock situation, and I know you want to rant about this, so by all means, go right ahead.
Yeah, so as we all know by now, the Oilers have had an interest in Mike Babcock coming in. After originally Babcock was asked about coaching again, so he was retired. He met with Daryl Cates, he met with Oilers leadership, and now what's coming out is that there's going to be an investigation if the Oilers do want to advance with moving on with Babcock, and the NHLPA asked the NHL to investigate Babcock. And my thing is this, is okay, you move on from Chris Knobloch. You want to bring in a veteran coach, a harder name, someone who will push these guys. How are you settling on the guy who's been out of the league since 2023 for misconduct? A guy who countless players have said is not a good person, has done A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K to mess with players mentally, to assert dominance over veteran guys, over younger players. Guys, and the thing is too is that we all know usually there are players who talk about these kind of coaches, but they're off the record. No, guys have gone on the record and said, yes, I'm going to attach my name and say Mike Babcock is not a good person. Guys like Mike Commodore, Chris Chelios, Johan Franzen, etc., etc., etc. Even in terms of a coach strictly in hockey, he hasn't won a playoff series since 2013. He hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 2008. This is the guy for the critical stages of McDavid and Draisaitl. This guy? I understand, yeah. Bruce Cassidy is still in its rigmarole with the Golden Knights with his contract. So wait it out. Don't blink and won't blink yet. The Cup Final is still going on. Say you'll wait as long as possible. Don't be the first guy to blink, and it appears that they have done that. They still might not get him after this investigation happens. It might be a thing where HLPA discourages the Wolves from hiring him, or Wolves back away from after the investigation because there's still more things that could come out for all we know. So they put themselves in a really, really, really bad spot as opposed to just waiting on Bruce Cassidy or trying to get someone else who isn't a headache, trying to get somebody else that players don't all in mass despise. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
That's an absolute fair point. I mean, again, while he was the Leafs coach, of course, he did say in his opening press conference, and I'm probably sure you all remember this, there would be pain. Unfortunately, we're still feeling that pain after he left. Hadn't won a playoff series as a Leafs head coach, considering his tenure and his track record. But, that can only get you so far. It doesn't disqualify you from the fact that you're a person sometimes. And you know what? It is what it is. I'll say this. If, say, the investigation kind of clears them of any fault, I feel for Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Because essentially, what may end up happening is you may run those two out of town. And that might run McDavid into Toronto's arms, hypothetically. I mean, I know we all roast you for saying McDavid's coming home and what have you, but like this is a very serious situation. Because it's like, yes, I would like to have McDavid on my team. No, I don't want him here on, say, a negative pretense. Where, say, a coach that we had that was an absolute trash bag basically handed him to us for free. I kind of want to just, have the ability to steal him away in free agency and have for a good reason. I want to be able to make fun of you for it, not feel sorry for you for it. You know what I mean, Avery?
Well, here's the thing too, that it's coming out that the leadership core of the Oilers is on board with Mike Babcock. So,
oh boy,
end of the day, yeah, the hiring does come down to the front office. But if this backfires, and with a coach that was given the green light in some part by the players, and it doesn't work out, that falls on everybody. That falls on everybody's head. If this is a guy that you're consulted on and you said yeah, and it doesn't work out, because remember, we all know the Oilers as a team, when it comes to results, October, November, the past 4 or 5 years, this team starts out slow every October, November, and by the time Christmas rolls around, they're already behind Anaheim or Vegas for a division lead. They're 8 points behind the division lead. So if they start out slow again, or if something else were to happen with Babcock in terms of more distractions again, this falls on everybody's head, and it's not a good look. It'll be again like, we told you so. We told you so. It's a bad idea.
Like, y'all not listen. It's the old Caribbean adage that most of our parents have given us at one point or another.
Oh, here it comes.
Those who can't hear shall feel. That's literally what it is. And for those of you that don't understand melanated speak, let me put it this way: you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that's essentially what Edmonton's leadership group core may end up considering when, say, Babcock potentially gets hired. So I say good luck to you. Avery, because like when you're in that locker room, like you're never gonna hear the end of it.
It's either way. Even if it comes out he won't be hired, it's still gonna be stupid, because why do you consider him in the first place? It's desperation, and it's a bad look. Either way, hired or not.
I agree. I fully agree.
Yeah, the fact that this name was even like associated with you is just sad. Really, like there's no other way to put it, because there's been so many years of just sheer nonsense in terms of like distraction, player association, and like treatment, and it's, as you said, desperation. Like there's just so many people you can choose from that can give you exactly what you want, and this is the direction that you went in. I can only chuckle.
He's nothing but foolish.
I don't understand why. I don't understand why this league and the three other major North American sports leagues rewards bad behavior, whether it's your players or management. Far too often they're getting rewarded for bad behavior. Because I mean, the fact that Edmonton, they are scratching at everything, scratching and looking for any sort of hope, and you landed on Babcock. It makes you wonder at this point, like, who's in a better position right now, Draisaitl, McDavid, or Austin Matthews? Because if you've got to go and find Mike Babcock, knowing the attention that brings, and none of it is positive. What indication, what was there to be like, this is the guy that's going to make McDavid stay? Knowing the history that he comes with, I wouldn't even entertain it. And the fact that like he went directly to ownership, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think if you're going to have conversations with anybody, you sit your ass down with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly first before you start looking for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to run it through them first. Because, I mean, it just, again, it just goes to show that, like, the leagues, they reward bad behavior and that they can go around, do what they want, and basically be lawless, which is essentially how the Department of Player Safety is run. But that's a story for another day.
True. Speaking of one, well, sorry, go ahead.
I think if Edmonton decides to go through with this, McDavid and Draisaitl, they're leaving 100%. Because there's nothing in Babcock's repertoire that's going to change the Oilers overnight into Stanley Cup contenders and give them the push that they need to get them into the finals. Absolutely not. You're better off running 2K, running a 2K management system and using that instead of Mike Babcock.
I fully agree. It's like, you know what, Mike? Your season's done. Go play some 2K for the next 82 games. You're done. Don't call us. We'll call you. Like we'll call Bakersfield and see if we can get a few players. Leon and Connor, both of you can sit out the season. Darnell,
like you're gonna ruin McDavid's peaceful summer with Babcock news. The man disconnected his controller from hockey, and the minute he plugs it back in, that's the news he's gotta look at first. No, man, unplug that shit again.
This player has left the game.
I mean, that's no one thought. I'm just blown away that people thought it was gonna be a clean hire with no complications. What?
You thought wrong.
Be serious. Be so for real.
Wrong.
Be so for real. You thought it was gonna be a clean hire.
Oh boy, you thought wrong. Anyways. Going from one coaching circus to another, Troy, I know you've seen the rotating carousel of Maple Leaf potential coaches and interviewees. The next one, of course, being Joe Pavelski. How are we feeling about this?
So I think, and Avery and I, we went through this Sunday night, but we didn't know the recording messed up.
Yeah.
So my thinking is, and I think Avery, correct me if wrong. I think he kind of agrees too that this may or may not be a smokescreen. I feel like,
in particular,
for who?
Like
Avery,
who would be the bigger play, or who would be the bigger play in this situation?
So I think they're honestly waiting on the Bruce Cassidy thing to play out. I think that the Leafs management, they have an idea of who they want, what I feel like they're working on is plans B, C, D, E, F, and G in case plan A doesn't work. And I feel like they're throwing names out there to either throw somebody off or just to say, we're trying. We're doing something. We're doing something better than the Oilers, but they don't seem to be in a rush to hire anybody. Because you notice how quickly these other teams, they fill their spots, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to get all these coaches in place, I imagine, for the draft. So that way they can figure out who they're going to take, who's going to mesh well with the coach and whatever system he brings. I think the Leafs are going to wait until the last possible moment. And
I feel like Troy just knows a bit.
I honestly think it'll be a surprise. I definitely think I feel like they're just waiting for, I guess, the right pieces to fall, announcements to be made, and go from there.
Have we heard anything about John Cooper yet? Because like I think that's also a bigger play at hand.
Yeah, it sounds like Cooper is content to stay in Tampa, and you know what? I don't blame him because again, you've won cups there. You brought this team being a contender again. I only think Cooper leaves if things in Tampa Bay really, really, really fall apart. So I think Cooper is staying in Tampa for the long haul.
So John
I
Cooper
think with the Leafs,
is gone. There you go.
sorry, I think with the Leafs saying that they might give Pavelski a look is them saying enough of the recycling of the older coaches.
Mm-hmm.
It's time they're using all their data people and their alleged big brains to cycle through things, use data, and try to see what the younger guys got. Because, like we've all noted, almost every episode that the stuff that these older coaches are doing, it don't work. That's why there's a constant revolving door of recycled senior citizens running teams, because they're all using game plans that worked in the 80s and 90s. It doesn't work in the late 2020s. So I think Pavelski could be a smokescreen, but he could also be a legitimate candidate because you want new, fresh ideas. And with the Leafs kind of retooling, rebuilding, having more younger in the lineup in the roster, you're going to need somebody who just recently left, not somebody who's been out of the game 20 plus years. You need a coach who can relate to today's player, kind of deal, and how they play, as opposed to having old school, rigid, structured play. So the game's it's broken open for that now. The game is designed to be more offensively creative. Trying to stifle creativity by turning an offensive dynamo into a defensive stud, it's a little harder.
Yeah,
because you want to win as much games as possible in regulation. You don't want to leave it to chance later in the season when you're struggling for points because you decided to play too defensively instead of more open and scoring more goals.
That's understandable. I think the consensus on Joe Pavelski is essentially like the Leafs are trying to find the same formula that Montreal had initially had with Martin St. Louis, and he managed to turn Montreal into the powerhouse that it was over the course of the season. Now, will it yield the same results? I don't know. And that's if, say, this hire actually happens. But, like, of course, Bruce Boudreau is still on the table as well, unless he's completely gone. And I know Leaf fans have been clamoring for him to be the Leafs head coach for how long now? And unfortunately now it's like it feels like that window is gone. But there's only so much that we can do, and there's only so much that we can speculate on. Because again, this team has not won a cup in 60 years. And it needs to figure its shit out now. Because if it doesn't figure its shit out now, then I'm sorry, but like, not only are you going to lose your name off of the cup, but I feel like Austin Matthews might be done in Toronto after this season. You know, I feel like William Nylander can't. Well, no, sorry, let me rephrase that. William Nylander can definitely handle the pressure of being in Toronto. I mean, the man's out here at concerts and Raptors games and TFC games and what have you, representing, like, basically embracing the city of Toronto, while Austin's basically in Arizona, basically doing God knows what right now. You know, John Tavares, like, I'm pretty sure he's taking a massive nap right now, just trying to get ready for the season. And we're still figuring out whether or not Anthony Stolarz can actually screw himself back together so that he can actually play a full season without being injured. But I don't know. Like, we need a coach. We need a coach to do something. You know, and I'm kind of getting sick and tired of this. And you know what? Like, if I have to literally jump off the building because Mitch Marner is about to win the Conn Smythe for what? Being a coward and going to Vegas just so he could gamble his career away, Like, listen, man, now I want to deal with this no more. Like, I'd rather be in a wheelchair right now watching the Leafs from a hospital bed than hearing about Bomba Clot Mitch Marner winning the Conn Smythe Award. Sorry, this is just me being unhinged right now, but that's how I feel about the situation.
Totally ignore Vegas coming out of your mouth. Do you think the Leafs pick a coach before the draft?
I don't know. I'd say after, more than likely, because if John Chayka and Matt Sundin actually come to an agreement on this particular situation, instead of actually having a coach say prior to the draft, because we know it's either say Gavin McKenna or Victor Stenberg in the draft, and I know the Leafs were looking at Victor Stenberg for a bit. Is it Stenberg or Steinberg, Avery? Please correct me.
Steinberg.
Steinberg. I keep screwing that up. I'm sorry. If the Leafs
Didn't
do end
Leafs
up,
management?
oh, go ahead.
Didn't Leafs management just go to McKenna's house?
They did, but we all know that the Leafs have the potential of actually screwing this up and actually going.
I don't think they will. I don't think they.
I'm not trying to put,
They met the guy because the guy's a Swede, got him the courtesy of meeting Matt Sundin, and that's all it is. We're not doing any nonsense here. We know what it's gonna be.
okay. Allow me to play devil's advocate in this hot second here.
Mm-hmm.
What if, and I'm saying if, folks, don't lose your mind over me. Don't send me death threats or send SWAT to my house for this. But what if the Leafs don't actually grab Gavin McKenna first overall, and he ends up either going to Vancouver or Chicago because the Leafs decided to go elsewhere?
There has to be a huge fall off.
Yep.
There has to be a huge analytical fall off. And that is the only reason why that will happen. Like something in the data is showing that this is the reason why this happened. Otherwise, there's absolutely no other reason why the Leafs wouldn't choose McKenna. Like both as a person, like Indigenous kid, like great stature, great player, great personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally checking all the boxes of everything the Leafs would need. It makes no sense unless the numbers are telling the staff that like we're seeing something where he's not developing in the way that he should be. And we don't think we can workshop this with the staff and the team that we have. So we're gonna go in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm with Marsha on this. Yeah, unless there's something major that happens between now and June, there's no chance of not taking Gavin McKenna.
Well, I mean, again, I'm putting this out there. I'm not saying this will happen, but we also need to be realistic enough to say, you know what, like what would end up happening if, say, this went sideways and the Leafs decide to go elsewhere. That's the other thing we have to focus on as well. And I think that's a conversation meant for another day. Last but not least, though, I do want to end tonight on a positive note. And of course, we all are excited about the baby Leafs finally going to the Calder Cup Final for the first time in 8 years. And that is going to be a very significant thing because, of course, we all know hockey in Toronto in June doesn't really exist unless you're a minor hockey team or unless you're the Toronto Six or the Toronto Raptors, right? Now, or okay, unless you're a minor hockey league team. But anyway, or sorry, like one of those youth hockey teams. But in any event, I'm happy to see that Alex Nylander and Dakota Maris and Dennis Hildeby and of course Easton Cowan along with the rest of the Marlies, and of course our homie Mark Johnstone, who I cannot forget in this situation. I'm happy that they're actually going to the final because it's like, you know what? Like they were a team that essentially overcame a lot of odds within their division. Like they took out the number one seeded Laval in the North Division. They took out a very scrappy team in who did they play? Who did they play before they ended up playing Wilkes Barre? Um, it wasn't the Admirals. Damn. Okay, I'll have to double check that. But um, it again, I'm happy with how the Marlies have played, and Arthur Akhmiktov has been standing on his head, and he's been stellar throughout every single game. Easton Cowan has basically like
Cleveland,
sorry,
Cleveland.
yes, Cleveland. Thank you, the Cleveland Monsters.
You have Cleveland.
Yeah, right after we get eliminated by the Cavaliers, we knock out their hockey team, which is even better. But I'm happy with how the Marlies are playing right now. Honestly, could we see another Calder Cup in Toronto? I hope so, but they have to get over a very battle tested and very strong Chicago Wolves team. Of course, history has been on their side for a very long time, and like what they've been to Calder Cup Finals for like say essentially within like the last 20 years. They've been in the final at least like 3 or 4 times, and have had deep playoff runs since then. Avery, you want to double check that for me real quick before we get off the air? Of course, Chicago's no slouch considering the fact that they went through a 7-game war with Colorado, and you really have to sit and wonder, like, can the Marlies do it? You know, can Easton Cowan be the guy to help the Marlies get over the hump? Can Dennis Hildeby, get himself between the pipes and actually be able to backstop the Marlies to another championship? Could we see the emergence of like say other stars as well? Could Mark Johnstone finally get himself on a 2-way contract with the Leafs next season? So many other variables and so many other factors. But Marsha, I want to hear your thoughts on this real quick.
I say yes. Um, from I don't know, like from the beginning of the playoffs, we've just seen the trajectory of the Marlies just be on the up. They've gotten more cohesive as the playoffs have gone on, and usually you see some teams crumble, um, especially under a lot of pressure like this. And with the regular season that the Marlies had, they've kind of had this weird like back and forth, a lot of change, a lot of like weird uncertainties. But they've really found a way to get themselves together, um, which is good because it feels like the exact opposite of their NHL affiliate. Um, Whereas with Chicago, we know they're the AHL affiliate of the Carolina Hurricanes, so they seem to be doing exactly in line with what their NHL team is doing right now. Um, so I would say it's a great feat for them to be where they are right now. The Marlies, but I do think it's gonna be a tough series, obviously considering what the Wolves have been able to do in the past couple of years. But they're not gonna go down without a fight. So it's not gonna be like a clean wash. It's gonna be a hard fought series for sure.
Avery and Troy, I know you guys have probably not been keeping an eye on the AHL situation, but like how are we feeling going into game one when the Marlies square off against the Wolves later this week?
You know what? This feels like it's going to be a long series. We've seen beforehand in past series. as Marsha pointed out too, the names who've performed, and this is also a scrappy Marlies team. That's one thing. They're a very likable bunch. They're a very likable team. One that's gonna get a lot of support at Coca-Cola Coliseum. And again, it's hard to not get behind your AHL team no matter what market you're in. So I think it's gonna be a definitely again scrappy Marlies team that gives the Wolves a real battle and can probably win their first championship since 2018, Dave.
Troy, what about you?
Yeah, I haven't totally been following the AHL playoffs, but I do think, based on the little snippets I've been able to see here and there, I think the Marlies can definitely pull it off. It's not going to be an easy series to win. I think this probably goes 6 if it doesn't go the whole distance. It'll be nice. It would be nice to see a second championship in this city this year behind the Toronto Rock. Should the Marlies win, this should definitely give whomever the Leafs hire as their coach food for thought in terms of how you want to fill out this roster.
I can't agree more with that, and I think that's a really good way to end things off. Of course, we're gonna be rooting for the Marlies as best as we possibly can. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, get us to the game, get us tickets to the game. MLSC, if you're hearing this, or someone from the Marlies, if you're hearing this, Scotiabank, if you're hearing this, get us to the game, get us to Coca-Cola Coliseum. We need to be there, just in the championship locker room, talking mad smack about everybody else in the AHL. Just being out here in these streets. But we're excited to see how things go. On that note, Avry, Troy, and Marsha, thank you very much for coming through. This was a lot of fun. Also, Avry, if you want to stay awake for the remainder of this and not act like our old pal Donnie.
Yo, I'm just relaxed right now. I'm just relaxing. I'm not sleeping. Yo, screw you. Every time I lean back in my chair, they think I'm sleeping. That's wild. I'm leaning back.
We can't call Avery Fat Joe. We could call him Skinny Avery at this point.
Yo, I try to say, I'm wide awake. I'm wide awake here. I'm just relaxed in my chair. Y'all are wildin'.
All right. Honestly, tonight was a fun episode, and folks, thank you for letting us grace the space in between your head top. We will be back with an episode on Sunday. Like I said, if somebody out there can hear us, get us to Game 3 or Game 4 and or Game 5 of the Calder Cup Finals. We need to be there, trying to manifest that out into the world. But until then, it's your boy Dave signing off on another episode. Until next time, drink your water, mind your business, stay cool, and deuces. One last thing, we're gonna try and do a few more videos before the season's done, and also we're trying to make sure and root for Canada as they square off at the World Cup on Friday. So go Canada, go, folks.
Ooh.